It is a tragedy of our time that some of the world's most trusted historians dismiss the narratives of Africa's own people. They claim the Bantu of the continent had no knowledge of Egypt, as if the land of the pharaohs were on another planet. They say the Sahara was an impenetrable barrier, that no human could cross it, as if the great kings of Africa were too foolish to traverse their own continent. If that were true, one must ask, how did the ancient Egyptians, renowned for keeping exotic animals and possessing gold beyond measure, obtain treasures found nowhere in their land? So where did their wealth flow from? The answer lies in their alliances with their brothers from the south. Before the kingdom of Egypt rose, there was Kush, flourishing in the ancient plateaus of Mesopotamia under the mighty, rebellious king Nimrod. History records that Nimrod was the grandson of Noah through Ham, Ham meaning black or dark-skinned, and son of Kush, whose very name meant black. Kush was the brother of Mizraim, Canaan, and Put, the patriarchs of the dark-skinned nations of Africa and beyond. Together, their descendants spread across the African continent, southern Arabia, and the Mediterranean coast. The name Kush not only referred to a people, it became a title of kingship and came to be associated with all the dark-skinned people. Across Africa, kings were revered as falcons or eagles, symbols still present today when many African peoples call their rulers Amakosi, black falcons or eagles, derived from Amakushi, the kings. The Egyptians themselves bore witness to this heritage, venerating falcon deities like Montu, Horus, and Ra. For the pharaohs were born of this same royal bloodline. Ancient Egypt emerged from these Amakushi, the Kushite foundations, with Mizraim, locally known as Musiri, at its root. The name Musiri itself also carried a connection to birds, reflecting the same royal symbolism. Mizraim's descendants spread into southern Africa, and their kings were called Shiriadengas, birds of the sky or Amazulu. From these beginnings, Egypt became the crossroads of Africa, a hub where overseas traders exchanged goods with inland nations. Gold, ivory, incense, and exotic animals flowed north from the Kushite kings of the south. Egypt became the capital of the continent, a world power whose glory was built hand in hand with its southern allies, the Amakushi. These two civilizations mirrored each other's ways of life, religion, and governance because they were, in truth, the same people. The relationship between Egypt and the southern kingdoms was not always peaceful. Like all great powers, rivalries and rebellions sometimes erupted. Yet in times of crisis, these southern allies often defended Egypt. One notable example is King Pi of Kush, who in the 8th century BCE marched north to repel foreign Semitic invaders. His victory was so decisive that he became pharaoh of Egypt himself. But in the mid-7th century BCE, Egypt fell to foreign powers, the Assyrian Empire, followed by the Persian invasion in 525 BCE. Many native Egyptians withdrew southward into the African interior. The Kushite capital at Meroe became the center of imperial power until around 350 BCE, when the Kushites suffered a major blow from the rising Aksumite Empire. In 332 to 330 BCE, Persian Egypt was being invaded and conquered by the Hellenistic dynasty of Greece, marking the end of Persian rule and ushering in a period of Greek dominance under the Ptolemaic dynasty, which ended in 30 BCE when the Romans took over Egypt. The Aksumites, of African Semitic descent, established dominance over the declining Kushite kingdom and expanded their influence into the Arabian Peninsula, conquering the Himyarite kingdom. At its height, the Aksumite Empire controlled territory across present-day Eritrea, northern Ethiopia, western Yemen, southern Saudi Arabia and Sudan. Its capital, Aksum, flourished as a trading center, connecting India and the Mediterranean. The empire exported ivory, tortoise shell, gold, and emeralds, while importing silk and spices. With access to both the Red Sea and the Upper Nile, Aksum's navy thrived in commerce with Nubia, Arabia, and India. It was during this time when the Arabs invaded and took over Egypt from the Romans. At this point, Egypt had changed its population ethnicity completely. Aksum traded not only with Egyptian and Persian merchants, but also with Rome and Byzantium. The empire began to decline in the early 7th century CE, ceasing coin production and moving inland to the highlands for protection. While Aksum dominated the east, the Kingdom of Ghana rose in the west. In 630 AD, the inland Shensi Empire rose, controlling maritime trade across the South Atlantic, once called the Ethiopian Ocean and the Indian Ocean. This was the lake region consolidated empire, and names from this empire echo in the modern South: Masingo, Vicenzi, Zanzi, and others. By the 950 CE, many coastal and lake regions broke away from Shensi, forming independent city-states. From this fragmentation arose Mapungubwe in southern Africa around 900 CE. Mapungubwe gave birth to the Kingdom of Great Zimbabwe in the 11th century. Great Zimbabwe split into two great powers, Tagwa and Mwenemutapa. From Tagwa Kingdom came the Amantungwa, Tswana, and many Nguni nations, as well as the Rosvi state. From Mwenemutapa descended the Changamire dynasty, the Shona state. We also saw the Luba Empire giving rise to the Lunda Kingdom, Kazembe, and Maravi Kingdom, the latter also being the Kalanga, or People of the Sun, being the descendants of Kaluba, one of Dzivagiru's sons. This is the story the world must hear, that from Mesopotamia to Meroe, from Aksum to Mapungubwe, from Ghana to Great Zimbabwe, Africa's kingdoms were never isolated fragments. They were an unbroken chain of royal blood, trade, and shared heritage. To speak of them as strangers to each other is to erase the truth. They were family, and their thrones, though scattered by time, were carved from the same stone.